Hello. And so with this architectural and virtual reality connection in mind, we enter into the second topics of our lecture, Archi Virtual Heritage. I would like to make use of a real-life examples of the Kowloon Wall City in Hong Kong to illustrate the point of virtual heritage. Kowloon Wall City is a famous landmark or an infamous place in the historic Hong Kong urban experience. Kowloon Wall City is an area of lawless place because of a historical condition between the British and the Qing dynasty of China. They have carved out a place in Hong Kong where they both will not have law and order to look over the area. And as a result, the place is basically lawless and it allows all kinds of illegal activities to carry out. These strange anomalies in urban development become what it's one of the most densely populated spot on the face of Earth. In 1993, the British government, then the government of the colonial Hong Kong, decided to tear the city down and finish and end this kind of lawless condition in the Kowloon Wall City. However, the memory of the place still remains, and people were still fascinated by this historical landmark. In Japan, people recreated a museum that replicates the experience of Kowloon Wall City. They set up the whole condition of the place in a kind of mocked-up movie set experience, so that people can go back to that place and see what it was like. In a way, because the place does not exist anymore, now it becomes a park and new housing estate surrounds it. And yet the memory of this unique place remains, and therefore people are still fascinated by it. Literature, comics, movies make reference to it, or even art installation. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was one of the games that make reference to Kowloon Wall City. In it, they recreate the whole Kowloon Wall City, pretty much the whole set in the game for people to play. The dark corners and also the ominous settings recall the fascination of people of this particular place and time in Hong Kong history. Now, without the play exists, people can still go to a virtual place and experience what it was like. And therefore, with virtual reality, heritage or a certain cultural memory of a place or space could be recreated. In effect, the place is resurrected by this kind of digital composition. Based on photographs and all kinds of historical reference, people are able to recreate the place. And therefore, a form of virtual architecture is generated in the virtual world to emulate the real-life experience of Kowloon Wall City. On the other hand, other kinds of fantastic or fantasy space or architecture can be created in the game worlds or virtual worlds. People can spend a lot of time engaging in activities and exchange or even online encounters in this kind of virtual space. We can imagine in the future when more and more people are spending their time in games or virtual worlds entertainment, these kinds of virtual architecture will become more and more important just like people designing real building in the cities or real residence for people to live in. However, without the constraint of physical structure or gravity, these places can define the kind of limitation that we face when building actual structure or buildings in the real world. In effect, in the virtual architecture, a lot of grand scale and impossible dreams can be recreated, and people can venture into it, experience something that they can never do that in real life. Now, with the advance of virtual reality technology, our senses, our five senses, are almost being approached with vigorous development of technology. Our five senses are sight, of course, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. Of course, to recreate a food experience, it's very much a difficulties in virtual reality, but it's theoretically possible. The film The Matrix, it's one of the most crucial ideas that inspire virtual reality experience, because the idea that our brain receives the same kind of stimuli that can be fabricated and generated in computers can replace the real-life experience. In effect, when you think about it, when you look at the screen of your cell phone and devote so much time onto your cell phone, this kind of experience or engaging within a space, it's similar to going inside a virtual world. It's just that your body is not inside that world, but your mind is practically within and engaging into that world, and forget about your surroundings when you are very much engaged in the world of your cell phone or your game world.